What's going on, everyone? This is NFL Draft Time. We're getting into the Seattle Seahawks draft, and we're going to see what good things they did, what mistakes they made. So as you see here, we have all our picks from the Seahawks this year. We have our first round pick, Gray Zabel, number 18 from North Dakota State. I don't really like the idea of picking a guard in the first round. I think traditionally, the value isn't quite there. I do like his versatility, though, and I do like that he played well at the Senior Bowl. So, and it is a need position, so I get the choice. Can't say I love it, but I think it's an okay choice, understandable choice. So that's fine with me. The next pick we had in the second round, Nick Imawari. So we traded up, actually, lost a pick to get a safety. I did like this pick. He seemed like a tall but fairly rangy guy, got a few interceptions. Everybody wants to compare him to Cam Chancellor. I don't think he's necessarily that type of player. I'm sure there's some physicality there, but I'm sure it's going to be difficult to ever live up to a Cam Chancellor like physicality. So I think he has to be his own player, but he looks like a solid player, somebody that you're happy to pick in the top of the second round. So I definitely understand why we got that pick, and I like that pick. Not to rag on the guy, but our next pick in the second round is Arario out of Miami. I'm sure he's going to be he might be an okay player. I have my concerns, though. If we didn't play a lot in college due to injuries, I think in general, those show up in the NFL too. So to pick somebody at 50 with injury history, a little lack of production, semi-lack of production, even with Cam Ward as your quarterback, I am very concerned with this pick. I think we could have gone different directions here. I hope he turns out, but I have my concerns picking a tight end who's been injured a lot. Sounds like he showed well at the Senior Bowl, running routes and so forth. Not like I watched all the tape, but I did watch some highlight tapes. And another thing that I noticed was I didn't necessarily see anybody who's breaking tackles, and that concerns me. I do want my tight end to break a tackle or two. So when my tight end can't do that, that reminds me of kind of what we already have as a Seahawk and Noah Fant. Someone who's fast, athletic ability, catches the ball okay, but does he really give you much else? Does he block well? Does he break tackles? And I would say the answer is no. So to have that plus injury concerns, I can't say I'm a big fan of this pick. However, the Seahawks come back in the third round and take Jalen Milroe near the bottom of the third round out of Alabama. I love this pick for the Seahawks. Picking a quarterback with that type of physical talent near the bottom of the third round, I think is great value. If you watch some of his highlight tapes, you're going to see some great runs. I think passing the ball, decision making, is where we still have room to grow. And that's not surprising. Most QBs coming out do. So we will see. Hopefully he gets his passing abilities up to that of Jalen Hurts out of Philadelphia. A little bit different a player. Hurts is more powerful. I think Milroe is even more explosive, though. So, and that's as a runner. So we will see. But I like that physical ability. That's something that's definitely an advantage in the run game. So we will see. But to have someone with that physical talent in the third round, I think is a great value and gets me excited to see. And then we had a gap in picks. So then we're in the 5th round. We have Riley Mills out of Notre Dame. Can't say I knew a lot about him. I should have watched Notre Dame play a little bit more this year. But from the highlights that I were seeing, I did like what I saw. Again, it does concern me that he has a knee injury that he's healing from. He looks like a guy who stays in the weight room, so that makes me think that he'll be working hard to get back and doing all the things he should do. So, in the 5th round, hey, no problem. That's the 5th round. That's what you're gonna get in the 5th round. Some talented players, but maybe there's something going on. So that's a fine pick. And then later in the 5th round, we got Torrey Horton. I like this pick a lot. I was telling some people that I know that I really like this player for the Seahawks in the 3rd round or so, and we got him in the 5th round. So really excited for the player that he is. He looks like somebody who can catch the ball well. Routes seem solid. Seems like he could break a tackle or two. Just on physical looks, the part that does concern me a little bit is he's a little bit slender. So when you're a little bit slender, but you still got okay height like he does, about 6'2", 6'1", you worry that could lead to injuries, more injuries than you would hope. But again, that's why he's available in the 5th round. He had an injury himself. But I love the player. I like the upside in the 5th round. That's one of my favorite picks for us. And then later in the 5th round, Robbie Ertz out of Alabama. It's a fine pick. It's an okay pick. I get it because I know we wanted a fullback, but I do have my concerns. If I'm looking at draft value, it looks like he played tight end, and he didn't necessarily have very, high numbers at Alabama. So I was kind of wondering if this could have been a pick even later in the draft in the 7th round. So I think there was a slight reach there. I think we could have got him in the 7th round, in my opinion. However, I know that they probably zeroed in on him as a fullback, big fullback-like player. And I'm sure that's why and someone probably could play special teams, I would assume. So I could see why they did that. But again, I probably would have tried to see if we can get him in the 7th round as opposed to picking him in the 5th round. But if he plays, that's a solid pick. And then we got in the 6th round a guard out of Kansas, and I definitely get the idea with that. We only had picked one offensive lineman when that seems to be our biggest need position, and we haven't really Seahawks hadn't signed too many players in free agency that got you really excited on the offensive line. So you could see why they went to try to get some depth and see if they could find somebody that can compete. So that seems like an okay pick. And then we have in the 7th round, we have 3 picks in the 7th round, but the first pick is Damian Martinez out of Miami. I actually haven't watched him play at Miami, but I did watch him play at Oregon State. And he's a hard runner, really hard runner. You could tell that there's maybe some little bit of physical limitations, but he runs real hard. He's going to break some tackles. And so that makes him an interesting backup-like player. I think this was a average pick. I think there's maybe people that were more athletic than him, but he also has produced some in college too and shown some good tape breaking tackles. So I can see that in the 7th round. And then we have another offensive tackle, Mason Richman out of Iowa. Definitely, again, offensive line and need position. Iowa seems to do a decent job teaching people how to play offensive line and play tight end and so forth. So I think there's probably solid upside with that. So I don't mind that pick in the 7th round at all. And then our last pick in the 7th round is Ricky White III at a UNLV. He reminds me in some ways a lot of our 5th round pick, Torrey Horton, in that he's a little bit slender, but still tall enough, 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", somewhere in that range. Produced at UNLV. I think in the 7th round, it's a fine pick. Hopefully he's someone that can make the team and contribute. I think right now, I think people are putting him on the outside looking in as far as making the team, but we will see how you produce on the field. I would say overall, how I feel about the Seahawks draft is it was a solid draft. Solid draft. Again, my favorite picks were our safety out of South Carolina in the 2nd round, Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round, Torrey Horton in the 5th round. Those were my favorite 3 picks. So I'm very happy that we got those players. And again, in the 1st round, we addressed the offensive line to a certain degree. Hopefully another player that can step in there and start right away. So that makes a lot of sense. I would say overall, my draft grade, what I would get it, watching drafts since 1997, all the drafts since then, I would give it a B+ in the draft. I think there could have been some slightly different maneuvers in the draft, but very solid, very close to an A. So excited. Can't wait to see how the Seahawks turn out this year. Let me know in the comments what you think. Want to hear from you. If you think I'm crazy or whatever you think, please let me know. Please like the channel. Appreciate it. You have a good one. Goodbye.